Hey, what's up guys, Dressrosa here and welcome back to another One Piece video. Today we have part 2 in our Road to World series where for now I am testing Marshall D. Teach or Blackbeard. But you know, in the next weeks that might definitely change up. But for now we are still on this guy. Last week we also did Blackbeard where we played him against Luffy and Shanks, which recently won the Latin America World Championship qualifier, so that deck might be getting more popular. If you want to check it out, I'll post the last week's video somewhere up there. But yeah, this week we are going to be taking a look at arguably the two best decks in the format, which are going to be Black Yellow Luffy and Doflamingo, Blue Doflamingo that is, with this deck. As well as a little bit of a changed list, which was actually requested last video, so we will be testing out this guy here, the 7-cost Dressrosa Monkey D. Luffy, the one that can like attack active characters and attack twice essentially by, you know, setting it active again by putting 7 cards from the trash to the bottom of the deck. Supposedly this deck's pretty good against, or not this deck, this deck is not good against Doflamingo, but this card is. We will be having 3 games actually this time, because 2 of them are a little bit short. One is against Black Yellow Luffy, which will be the first game we're going to be checking out. And then there is 2 games of Doflamingo, 1 entire game, which is like sort of close, and then 1 close game, or not close game actually, where Teach actually goes in pretty hard and wins by using this card, and then the opponent scoops. I understood last week people didn't really like the shorter games where the opponent scooped, but that's why I'm going to be showing 2 games for Doflamingo, 1 complete game, and then 1 game where Teach just goes off and the opponent realizes it's pretty much over, which in that case, I guess it's it kind of was. But yeah, I'll be putting timestamps in the video, so you can click, like if you're just interested in one of those matchups, you can just, you know, skip to that part. But yeah, that's it for the intro. Let's just get into the first game, which will be against Black Yellow Luffy. Alright guys, let's check out this game. Once again, this was in rated actually against Black Yellow Luffy. As you're going to be seeing, this is going to be a little bit of a short game, but that mostly is because this matchup is very favorable for Blackbeard. Like, definitely it's not like unlosable or unwinnable for Black Yellow Luffy, but if everything just goes your way and things don't really go their way, then you are very, very favored. We will actually be seeing that my opponent won the die roll, so he will be going second, forcing me to go first, which is favorable for him. I mean, there's just not much to say about this matchup, I think, right? Just Marshall D. Teach leader effect is very powerful against Black Yellow Luffy, mostly because it shuts off their Moria play, but also just shutting off the Sabo is pretty good. Because it means that your on-KO effects are actually usable in this matchup as opposed to other black decks. And also, the leader effect makes it very hard for the opponent to awaken and start using the leader ability, as you're going to be seeing in this game as well. But let's just hop into it. As you will see... 1 second... As you will see, I see this hand, I decide to keep it because I have access to the Lafitte, and I also see one of the 10-drop Teaches, which are both pretty good, and I realize that with the Doku in the hand as well, I will be able to KO one of his 1-drops that they play. In his first turn, he actually right away plays the Flampe, which is very common if you're playing this matchup. Your opponent will really try to use their on-play effects while they can, so they will be trying to go lower on life sooner rather than later. With the Lafitte, you're always going to be wanting to get to either your Burgers or your Tankos. Like, those are basically the key cards in this matchup. And we did not get to one of... I mean, we did get to Teach, but early game we definitely really want to see Burgers. However, in this situation, we don't have any other searcher than the Lafitte, so like, it's not looking bad for us, but it could be better, right? I'll pause real quick. So I do not attack here. The thing is, I think it's fine to pressure opponent if you have like multiple early Burgas, because then you can really force them to start discarding pretty early on. However, at this point I don't really have much early game setup, which means I'd rather just have him stay, I'd rather keep him on high life, and then in late game just drop multiple 10 drop teach, and just push in for a game later with those and prevent him from awakening. But again, I think if you do have the early Burgas setup, it's fine to actually start swinging pretty early, but yeah, since at this point my only playable cards in this matchup are the double 10 drop, yeah, not much reason to start attacking. I didn't mention it yet, but I do have Finger Pistol in my hand, which is also pretty good in this matchup because it allows you to KO their 5-cost Luffy if they do have it, which is nice. So yeah, we saw him go Makino here, and then go Ivankov. Ivankov treasure card, put Luffy to life, and then play a small Luffy to get Rocket Luffy. And he actually opts to pop the Duck Q with the Rocket Luffy here and attack into my Teach. Another line he could have done, I think, is just keep the Rocket Luffy on field, and yeah, no, actually I guess this is better. I do draw a card, which is another 2k I think, but then for turn we do draw the Hachinosu, which is super strong in this matchup, and as you see we do find our first Burgas here. Here I'm thinking like if I want to try to make him discard some cards by attacking, but it's not really worth it because there is no real way to threaten him since he also has the blocker on field, and I'd much rather play the Burgas than play the Finger Pistol. And also, like, we can't make him, even if we Finger Pistol him first, we can only do 7/7 I think. Yeah, which is not... That is before that Shinosu, by the way. So at most it would have him like discard one card, and there's not much value in there. And here I finally start using my leader effect. Of course he will be going to 8 ton at this point, and we really don't want him to play out that Gecko Moria. And also he's still at 1 life, so we also don't want him to awaken. We are lucky he doesn't have the 5-cost Luffy here. Like if he did, that would have been rough. But he does only have access to the Sabo here, it looks like. And as you're gonna see here, we're not even really gonna get to the late game. Because I top decked the Finger Pistol. And now I can just do double Finger Pistol. This will also boost our Burgas up to make him go higher. So he's already at 7. Now if I do a Hachinosu and leader effect, he's gonna get another plus 1000 because we will go to 12 cards. So first I swing 7, which actually takes. So now I'm gonna go Hachinosu, discard Laboon, I just get the This Is My Age here because I'd rather see the Lafitte possibly late game, which we're never gonna get to, than the This Is My Age. So I swing 5 first, and then I try to close out the game here with 8. I mean, all just relatively basic stuff. We actually do see he has the 5-cost Luffy here, but it might have been the life card. Not sure. And also, even if he did have the 5-cost Luffy lesser, and he could have only awakened to 7k leader. So one thing here is my opponent goes play Kuzan, which has no effect because he is under the leader ability of Blackbeard. And then he swings 11 into my Burgas, which I do have double 2k, which I can counter out. If he would have just swung everything into the Burgas and then used leader ability, he gets to live another turn because he has 2 life and I only have 2 attackers. Like he would have been probably just, depending on his hand, 5k leader with 2 life. I would have just like attack and then play the Teach, and he probably would have lost last turn, but that's one thing to keep in mind. Like he could have lived a turn longer. But here I can just discard, and then my opponent actually just admits defeat right away, right? Because he knows if he discards, he goes to 2 life, but he's only 5k leader, and I can swing with 7 3 times very easily, and that will just be the game. So pretty steamroll game here for Blackbeard. But again, this is a favorable matchup, and if things align for you and they do not align for your opponent, it's usually gonna play out like this. But yeah, that's it for the Black Yellow Luffy game. Now let's go to the Dofi games. So yeah, game 1 out of the 2 Dofi games that I will be showcasing here. Once again, this is like a little bit of a shorter one because my opponent is going to admit defeat relatively early. But yeah, we also have a full game after this, so don't worry about that. I think it's worth it to show it because the 7-cost Luffy is really gonna shine in this specific game. But yeah, Dofi versus Blackbeard, I'll just have the game play as I talk. Very, very hard matchup for Blackbeard. I think it's like 70-30 or something, maybe even 80-20 if their opponent is is good with Dofi and knows how to pilot the matchup. He also goes first here, which is favorable. You definitely, if you want to go win a die roll, both these decks want to go first. And I also mulligan into a little bit of a mediocre hand here. Like, we don't even have something to play on the first turn, which with Blackbeard is not very common. Yeah, you have to start discarding right away with Blackbeard, because, like, basically if they resolve Jinbei one time, it's gonna be over. Because they will have too many bodies on the board for you to deal with, and if you like have bodies sticking around to pressure you, it's gonna be rough. My opponent actually goes 8 here instead of just 7 and attempt to hit the leader effect, which I think is incorrect. You definitely, if you have the possibility, should try to get lucky. There's no real reason not to, I don't think. It would have even been better if you went 7 and then play out the Perona. Because having the small guys on the field is actually very strong in this specific matchup. I go Lafitte here and have a lot of options. In the end, I decide to go Lafitte because it's like a pseudo blocker, and I get to dig a little bit deeper into the deck, but we actually don't find anything that good. We are obviously searching for Duckyu, by the way, because if we have Duckyu next turn, we can go Laboom Duckyu to get rid of whatever he plays down, but we do not find it, sadly, which is a little bit rough. And now my opponent... it's his turn again. Again, I use the leader ability. Basically, I think this entire game I will be using leader ability. Sometimes you don't want to use it against Doflamingo, but I'll talk a little bit about that in the next game, which is a little bit more interesting, I think. But he goes play Boa here. I actually do top deck the Black Hole, I think, which is quite strong because it means we will be able to out the Boa, where otherwise, if we didn't see that, we wouldn't be able to do that. Oh, I didn't top deck it. I already had. Yeah. Regardless, it is very nice to have it. And go Lafitte here. Still no Dockyu. But I do think Hachinosu here is quite nice, because next turn we will probably be playing the 7-cost Luffy. And then we have 1 Don remaining, which we will be using for the Hachinosu, because the Lafitte is probably gonna get KO'd here. And he actually plays Jozu here, which is that's strong. It's very hard to out. Like, we could go, one of the few ways to out is go like Laboon and then like Finger Pistol or Black Hole, and then we just do the play I just mentioned. We do finally get the Dockyu, which is very strong here, because it means next turn, since I do have the Van Augur, I will be able to swing twice with Luffy and also play down Dockyu, Van Augur to get rid of another one, which is the reason why I'm discarding the 2k here, and then we just play out the Luffy. And as you're gonna see, this Luffy is gonna be very, very strong. Like, unless Dofi has Red Rock here, he won't be able to out it, and that means that the Luffy will be able to trade with 2 bodies next turn, very likely. And we're also still at high life, which is important to note, because once you go down to low life, winning against Dofi is very, very hard. And here I think he does not swing because he wants to choke. I assume that's the reason. But yeah, we need 7 Don for our Dockyu Van Augur play, so we just have to hope he won't be able to counter out the 10, which apparently he does not. Now we will be able to restand our Luffy. Just put back whatever to the bottom. Like, in this matchup, it's usually not that important, and the Luffy will be able to swing over his Mihawk. Now our leader will finally be able to hit his life, and we will be able to use the remaining 7 Ton to go Van Augur Dockyu, and this way we actually cleared 3 bodies this turn, which is very, very strong, I think. Like, without the Luffy, it's usually impossible for this deck to do that. We are very low on cards now, but I don't think that's too bad. Like, he will probably want to out the Luffy here, and he has to swing 10k, or, yeah, 10k, 9k, sorry, 9k, at least to do that, and if he does that, he has no way to out either the Van Augur or the Dockyu, so we'll be able to trade with a 4-cost body once again, and hopefully we get to the 10 drop next turn. To be honest, like, the odds are not that good, because, and there, my opponent just conceded, right? But the odds are not in our favor, because we already saw a lot of 10 drops, I think, with our searches. Once again, like, this game was maybe winnable for our opponent if he played out, like, a little bit differently. I definitely think it would have been good to just go swing 9 at Luffy, try to hit with leader effect and then play out another body. Then on my turn I would have traded with both the bodies by attacking and going Docu Van Augur. Or if my opponent's unlucky, I get to the 10 drop and then the game is looking very, very good for us. Even now I think I was still in a very favorable position because I had 4 life, which is very strong, but it really depends like our next 4 cards, like the cards we see with Hachinosu and our draw, to see what would actually happen if our opponent didn't concede here. But yeah, that's this game where I really think the Luffy shows it is kind of good. I'm honestly quite a fan of it right now. I do think it's better than Jack and maybe even than like the Manchuri Bartolomeo stuff. But yeah, let's not keep on rambling about this game. Let's check out the last game for today. Alright, and for the last video of today we have another Doflamingo game, but this time a proper game and a really interesting one, I think. Once again, I believe we actually see Blackbeard losing the die roll, which is very, very hard. I am showcasing 2 games where I beat Dofi today, by the way, in this video, but do know I also played like 4 more games against Dofi, which I did lose with this deck. So I just want to showcase these specific games because it shows you how the game can go if you are actually winning, right? Because losing to Doflamingo is not very hard to do. Winning is actually pretty hard. Yeah, one thing I want to talk about though is it doesn't come up right here because I am going second both the games I'm showing, but what I'm doing, I'm trying right now, Skepas G actually recommended this to me, is just using leader ability from turn 1 on. So your opponent, even if they do have Perona, they will not be able to stack their deck and they will always be playing a game of luck when they're trying their leader ability. But I didn't get the chance to do that here. So I used the Docu here to pop the Perona because I knew I had another Docu ready basically, and this turn I could go swing 4 on whatever body their Dofu would bring out, which I'm gonna be doing here as well. Actually I go take a little bit of a risk here, but I swing 8 on Jinbei, so I have 1 Don remaining for the Hachino. So this is a little bit of a gamble because if this body doesn't leave the field, we are in a very, very bad position. But yeah, now I can play Hachinos to play a little bit more of a setup game. I go get This Is My A. I pitch the 10 cost because at this point it's not really that relevant. And then I pitch the This Is My Age because there's no cards in my hand I want to be discarding aside from that one. And then I do pick up the 10 cost again because it's just the best option. Burgas is not good in this matchup at all. So here I go swing 5 on Dofi. And I do have Laboon Docu, which is very strong on the 6th Don turn, because it means I will be able to trade with 4 cost body he played out. Then I go field, I pick up another Docu, and use go leader to pitch Black Hole. So next turn I again will be able to get rid of whatever body he plays out with my characters, which just in general is stronger than doing it with the Black Hole, because if he has to out my characters back, I get to draw a card, right? And with Black Hole, that's not the case. Yeah, he rams to Laboon here and just let it go because it would cost more cards. If I want to counter out, you'll see that early game you're almost never countering out with this deck anyway. But here I'm thinking a little. So basically what I'm thinking about is if I want to go Van Augur on either the Mihawk or the Hancock, because the Mihawk effect's actually kind of good. If it's it has the when attacking right, where you can draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards to like fix your hand. So I was thinking a little bit if I wanted to get rid of that instead and let the Boa be on field, but this one I was like, at least he has to discard a 2k if I swing 6. I also could have attacked the Buggy, I think, but I'm sort of okay with it staying on the field, because next turn I will be dropping the 10 drop, and then hopefully he can't out it, and I will be in like a sort of decent position. Once again, I can't really, he's gonna swing 6 into the, or 7, yeah. There's just no way I counter this, right? Like, I can, but then he's gonna swing into it with Dofi anyway, and I'd rather just get the extra card. So he's gonna swing 7 and hope to get lucky, which he doesn't, so this is very, very good for us. We really have to rely a little bit on our opponent missing their blind leader ability. So I'm just looking at what I can possibly get with the Hachinosu, I think. I do have the double blocker, which is kind of nice because it will allow me to like stay a little bit better in the late game if we start swinging big. This turn, I feel like I kind of have to play the Tenko's to stay in the game. I go Hachinosu, pick up Lafitte, and now I have Lafitte, Vasco Shot for next turn, which is actually very strong. I should have the blocker from the Boa here. With the leader ability to again force him to discard, and now I have to use the leader ability discard the 2k, because once again I want to keep all the cards in my hand I have right now, because it means like I have something good to do on the next turn, which sometimes is not the case. Like it would be good if I did have another 10 drop in my hand. He gets lucky here with the leader ability, hits the This Is My Age, and I pick up the 2k. And this is the annoying part. Right now he's going to be able to cycle his hand and kind of improve his options. I'm going to block this swing because at this point he can't just put everything under one character and then try to out my Blackbeard. We really don't want to be having that. Pick up another 2k. And here I think I go Hachinosu first to see if I can potentially get another 10 cost. Or no, I just I could have done that and I would have hit the 10 cost, which would have been cool. But yeah, we did not do that. So here I'm thinking what I want to be picking up, and the black was actually quite a strong pick here because it means I will be able to out the Boa. Then I go swing 7 on the Mihawk, which he counters, and then I do have a lot of counters in hand, right? So I can actually swing with the Blackbeard here because I'm also going to be playing out this blocker guy, and then I can go pitch. What do I pitch? The Lafitte, so I keep all my 2Ks, yeah. So at this point our hand size is still reasonable, I want to say. In hindsight, maybe I should have countered this with a 2k. So he is forced to attack with one of his big guys into the Lafitte, and then I can block the other one. But it kind of works out fine for us because he goes 6-6 and I do have double 2k. And then he just plays out 2 4-cost characters. And I once again have a pretty decent top deck here in the Finger Pistol, which I'm just going to be playing right away to get rid of the Weevil. And now it starts to get interesting because our opponent, he doesn't have a hand, right? Like he has 1 card. So what I decide to do here is actually go swing 4 into the buggy with the Vasco shot. And then I can still swing 7 into the Crocodile, which are both like 100% hits, right? And I can actually keep the Teach as a blocker on the field, and I can play out the Vasco shot. So what I'm checking for here is the 4-cost Moria, because that's probably the best card to resolve in the game state we are in right now, because I want to not use my discard here for the leader effect, because honestly when you're playing Blackbeard and you're down to 1 card in hand, the game is over. Like you have lost the game. So we can't really be doing the discard here. Like only way to do it is if we know 100% sure we're going to be able to go for game next turn, right? But we do know for 100% that we're not going to be able to do that. So yeah, I didn't use the leader ability here. Then he goes swing 7, which I block. In hindsight, it would have probably been good to block with the Vasco shot just to play around the lull a little bit. Then he goes Teach, and actually this is like a super good top deck here, because now we will be able to out his field and then have like still 2 blockers on the field. And even if he does get access to the lull somehow, we are still in a good position, and we can also lock his own Teach, right? Which means that he won't be able to guarantee hit off Dofi, but he does top deck the Perona here, which is along with Moria, probably one of the best top decks he can have. I guess Perona into Moria is probably the very best top deck he can have. And yeah, now it's gonna be rough. He's gonna be swinging 13 into our leader, bounce the Vasco shot. But luckily we did keep the 2k, so we can go do that. Use the 2k, so we actually keep both our Teaches. And now we top deck our 7-cost Luffy, which we already saw last turn, was last game, I mean, was very strong, but now it's actually gonna have like a little bit of a different use, because it can attack twice, right? So I swing over his guy with 7, which resolves, and then I play out the Vasco Shot and the Monkey D. Luffy, no cards in hand, but I do have double blocker, and one of them is, he won't be able to out anyway, right? Like, there's no way for him to out the Teach. I mean, I guess Red Rock into leader hit 4-cost Law would be game here, but I mean, I guess if he has it, he has it. And to be honest, I didn't really think about that line when I was playing the game, and also I'm not sure if it would have even gotten him there, right? So he goes 7 on leader, play out Weevil, we block, of course, and now he can go Blackbeard effect, swing 5, but it's fine. Like, I can counter or take here. It doesn't really matter, because next turn I have to go for game anyway. But we should be able to do it, right? Because he has 3 cards in hand, and I think we do know one of them is the Perona. Or I guess he could have put that back to the top deck with the Teach, which is why we're swinging 11, so even if he has like just 2Ks, the attack will resolve. Then just go 12, because I figure, like, what's the odds he has all 2Ks and gets another 2K from life. And also because we do have another swing with the Luffy, right? Like, the Luffy can literally just still restand himself and swing 11 again. So now nothing came out of life or did anything. So now I have 2 swings of 11 left. Yeah, that should just be game. So that's a cool use of Luffy as well, just pushing for game. Like, he can't even counter the first 11 swing. So yeah, I think this game was pretty interesting. Definitely had some stuff going on, like when to not use the Teach effect and stuff, which is very, very, very complicated. You always have to basically account for everything your opponent can do to decide when you are not going to use it, because like most part of the game you are gonna be forced to use it, because really you only can get away with not using it if your opponent is very, very low on cards, which was the case here. And even then, sometimes when you don't use the leader effect, you lose because of it. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that was the video for today. And the Blackbeard testing in general, I think I will probably try another deck next week. I was kind of thinking about trying Marco, which is a little bit of an odd pick, but I feel like maybe it's gonna be okay, or maybe it will still be Teach, and we're gonna be looking at like the last few matchups or some interesting tech cards, but yeah, it will probably be something else. So that concludes the Teach series. Once again, if you are interested in this type of content, be sure to subscribe, leave a like and a comment. The algorithm really likes that, and I'm also uploading like gameplay commentary of locals matches now on this channel, so if that's something you think is cool or fun to watch, then yeah, that's also something I'm uploading. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next one.